Hi, welcome to this week's episode of the Early Childhood Educator. Today we're going to talk about 10 ways I incorporate forest school into my home childcare. So the first way I incorporate forest school into my home childcare is through a flexible schedule. A schedule that makes room for as much outdoor time as possible. We live in southwestern Ontario in Canada, and so our weather can change its mind at any moment. How do I make this work? We start indoors because we first have to do frequent reassessing of the weather. Children are dropped off as early as 7:30. Once everybody's here and those who want to eat snack have eaten snack and all the diapers are changed and toileting is done and we feel like we've engaged in the classroom enough and we're settled and ready to go outside, we go out as soon as we can. We try for no later than 9:30, but obviously being super flexible about that because every day is so different and sometimes children need a little more this or that, and or they got super engaged in a material inside, and why would I break that up? To help with this, I bring a backpack with me and I put the water bottles in there and my attendance binder and any other things I need that I think will help us stay outside as long as possible. So I have diapers in there too and wipes. If I need to change a diaper outside, depending on the weather, I will do that. I have a little potty I can bring out with me, and we also have a bathroom and a shed out there. So in the winter time this year, it'll be the first year I get to do this. I don't have to take everybody's boots off and come downstairs and go to the washroom for those who are toileted. We can just go to the shed and the children who are waiting can just sit with their boots on and their snowsuits on just outside the bathroom door while I help the child on the toilet. I serve the children lunch at around 11:15, and so we try to head in around 11 o'clock to give us lots of time to take off our outdoor clothes, wash our hands, have a drink of water, and get settled at the table. So in order to have as much outdoor time as possible, a huge contributing factor of that is preparing the lunch for the children ahead of time. So I will often do this either in the morning, depending what it is, or the night before. We'll eat it for dinner and I'll make twice as much so I can put it in the fridge. And often I put it in my oven on warm and hold setting, and then I just pop up and get it when it is lunchtime, or I put it in the fridge down here. I have a mini fridge and heat it up in the microwave, and that's how we do it. And then another factor of this is we stay outside until parents pick up. We try our best to do pickup outside, and so that helps me because I don't have to do a whole nother transition of bringing children inside, undressing, getting resettled into the classroom again, and then parents coming in the midst of all that. So almost 90% of the time, maybe 95% of the time, I'd say we are outside at pickup, and then parents can choose to take off outdoor clothes in the back of their car. Often parents have hatchbacks and they like to do that there, or they are welcome to bring their child inside to do that and come back out again. And it just helps me at the end of the day. One less transition with me for the children as well, so that benefits them. And it makes cleanup a little bit easier too, which is great. And we get lots of outside time, which is the best of all. Another bonus is the parents actually get to see their children interacting in the natural space. So they can see the benefits and see the cooperation that happens in those spaces, and if you can do it that way, it's really just great. The second way I incorporate forest school into my home childcare is by creating a designated space that we return to every day in the outdoors. Whether it's your backyard or a public green space, you can create a designated play zone that you come back to each day. Maybe it's your whole fenced yard, or you can talk with children to determine the boundary markings, like, oh, that log over there to that tree over there, or that bush over there is the limit. Or maybe it's from the top of this hill to the sidewalk there. We have a designated play space in my 3-acre property that we created with a cedar rail fence. And we did so in an organic kind of shape. So it's not a typical rectangle or square or linear in any way. I was very intentional when I thought up of this design because I didn't want it to feel like the children were in a zoo or in a pen. I wanted it to feel like an inviting play space to come to, but we live on a street with a very busy road and we're pretty decently close to the road. So I wanted to have something that just defines the space, and also it means that everything within the space is for the children, and so it's just really clear for them and they have the freedom to explore. And it's a quite large space, so there are places that they can feel like they're far away from me. It doesn't feel like they have to be, directly under supervision of me all the time, even though they are. Whatever your comfort level is different for everyone in terms of creating boundaries for children. I want to make sure children feel like they have a sense of freedom and risk and not that they're intensely controlled. Repeated exposure and play in the same space is how children's brain develop and build capacity. It also allows for deeper learning as they observe the natural shifting environment throughout the seasons and as their bodies develop and grow. Think about where you grew up playing. Can you name or share knowledge about the species that lived there? I bet you are an expert at least one of those species without even knowing it. I think that's a powerful way to think about this, to think about why it's so important for children to visit a natural play space over and over and over again. The third way that I incorporate forest school into home childcare, I don't over landscape our play space. This is a win-win way to do it. Less maintenance work for me and more curiosity sparked in the children's hearts. There are more rich opportunities for learning and growth when children step into the environment touched only by nature, where the leaf landed, how the stick fell, where dirt sits, where wild plants grow, lichen and fungi grow. Children observe in what conditions that happens. And guess what? I don't take an extensive amount of time each day to clean up all the toys. If items have been thoughtfully used, why not leave them where they lay and see, A, and see if a child returns to this play, or B, its location or position or co-inhabitants with other materials sparks curiosity for another child or group of children. As childcare providers and co-creators with children, we can find a balance of reset and aesthetically pleasing and rugged and plentiful. What exactly is my space filled with? Well, that's number 4, loose parts and open-ended structures. Think of a basket of like materials, logs, blocks, stones, seashells, buttons, pine cones, corks, sticks. Some of these items are like those from nature, and some of them are plastic animals or pots and pans or spoons and utensils, sensory bottles, vehicles. Nature provides so many loose parts without any effort on our part. And that's a perfect example of how the environment is a third teacher. And what do I mean about open-ended structures? Large logs sitting in various positions and fixed to the ground, logs and branches that are movable, old tires, playhouse, a table with stools around it, picnic tables, sand area, mud kitchen, slide, child-sized bird nest, diverse surfaces, dirt floor, cement, grass, wood chips, stones. I will tell you one thing for certain. We spend so much time outside and never once have any of the children ever gotten bored. There's always something to explore and experience. Number 5 is storytelling. One of the main concepts of forest and nature school is storytelling. Verbal and written bring much benefit to the early learning program. Incorporate storytelling by setting up the environment, for example, cozy spaces with literature beside, or through bringing books outside, but storytelling is so much more than books. It's also encouraged through materials like finger puppets, small world play, in shadows. We take time in our day to prioritize storytelling, speaking stories and reading stories. Mealtimes and transitions are great times to facilitate that as an educator. What does this look like or sound like with children? It looks like taking a step back, letting children know you are there to support and encourage them, and then letting them take the lead in their learning. It can be so hard for adults to do this. Take a deep breath and allow children to decipher themselves how they'd like to learn and problem solve and engage. We feel satisfied when children do what we think they should do or act the way we think they should act. We reward them for that. How do we value these little people we spend so much time with? More often than not, when we step back and support children, they show us just how competent and capable they are, often surprising us. So an example of what that could look like with language is, I see you're a bit wobbly up there. If you need my hand to help you get stable, let me know. The 7th way I incorporate forest school into my home childcare space is through land acknowledgements and gratitude practices. Indigenous peoples have been doing education with relationship to the environment for thousands of years. We recognize the original caretakers of the land that we live on with our children. Simply saying, hey, let's have a land acknowledgement before we head outside. We name the people groups that originate here. Other times this looks like leading children in gratitude centering practices. So for example, sometimes I guide them in paying attention to the natural world around them from top to bottom. So noticing the sky is blue today and I see some white clouds. Oh look, there's a bird flying by. As I look down, I see the tops of the trees are still very green from summer, and they have strong, dark trunks holding them. And I see the sun sitting a little bit low in the sky. It must be afternoon. And in the distance, and so on and so forth. 8, I bring nature indoors. That's all those loose parts that we talked about earlier. Bring them inside. I created some log blocks by just taking a big branch that fell and using a saw and chopping them up. I didn't even sand them or anything, and they work great. The children love them. Little stones, sticks. If you can see here behind me, hanging above our table is a big stick with pieces of artwork hanging off of it. In the fall time, we put leaves up in our classroom. Sometimes we bring snow inside for in our sensory bin. Environment, I really limit the amount of plastic materials we have and try to enhance our environment with more natural materials. Go outside in all safe weather. So don't go outside when it's thunderstorming or the winds are too strong or it's really, really, really hot or it's really, really, really cold with wind chill. But how often does that happen? Not as often as you feel like it happens. Just go outside. There's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. So put on your rain suit, put on your rubber boots, put your hood up. Nobody cares if your hair gets messy. Have extra changes of clothes, lots of extra changes of clothes. Parents can take home wet things and wash them, that's okay. Of all the opportunities that are there in diverse weather conditions. When it rains, the bugs come up from the ground and the birds eat them. What a great learning opportunity. Or the way the water splashes into the puddles when it comes from the sky. Or think about how snow melts in the sun and then the next day creates ice when it's cold again. Think about the resilience and endurance you can build with children if you go out in all weather. I guarantee you will complain about the cold or the heat or the rain before they do. I purchased some mud suits for the children, so that really helps. So if a kid comes in the morning and doesn't have what we need to go out in the weather, I can throw those on top. Even in the winter time, I just layer them up, throw it on top, and it's amazing. Always have extras. Then there's never an excuse not to get outside. And finally, number 10, develop reciprocal relationships with nature and have a positive attitude. See my shirt today? Grow positive thoughts. Start with yourself. If you start with the positive thoughts and the positive self-talk, think of how you can express yourself and the children hear that and see that because you are their role model and they too will have vision where they can see opportunity and their curiosity will push them into their learning. This ties well into the going outside in all weathers. What does it mean to develop a reciprocal relationship with nature? Well, that's where if we're taking from nature, say we're harvesting wild berries, how are we giving back to the earth again? Or we're using the play space. Well, how do we take care of the earth we're playing in? Because we can be rough as we're trampling along and in our play. So how can we give back to the earth and be reciprocal in that relationship? So I guess number 10 is more about being a reflective practitioner and then helping children to reflect on their experiences too. Doing so with an outlook of what possibilities could there be. I hope that was a helpful video for you. If you're interested in incorporating forest school into your home childcare or in your childcare center or with your children at home, these are inclusive things that we can do every day to help us all get into nature and to benefit from nature. If there's something that was sparked within you as you watch this video, or you have questions or thoughts or wonderings, comment below. I would love to hear and build a community together. So please comment below. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already and like this video. Share it on social media and don't forget to check out my Instagram at The Early Educator. Every day I post something new, so check it out and I hope I get to see you back again here next week on Wednesday. Thank you so much for watching the first official kind of video of The Early Childhood Educator.